Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great. Yes, cannabis.
Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Coaching 4:02 in the Pacific time zone, or 4:20 for all our dyslexics out there. Welcome to Toker Talk Radio. I'm Radical Russ. Hanging out with me here, we got Big Island Zane on the mic. How you doing?
How's it?
Zane Dane Jane Chain in the chat room. And over on camera 5, we got Randy Quast, who is in from Minnesota NORML. How you doing, Randy?
Hi, excited to be here. Thanks.
So glad to have you here. And this might be the first time I've had you on the show since you've ascended to the National NORML board.
Yes. Yeah, this is my first time ever on the show. So
right on. I know the latest thing NORML is doing, and we talked to Dr. Mitch Earlywine about this, who's now the chair, is this NORML Business Alliance or NORML Business Network. What can you tell us about that?
They're just starting. I mean, I think what they want to do is try to, they have such a great brand, and
sure.
So what they want to do is take advantage of that brand to set certain standards and it makes a list of qualifications to qualify to get the NORML brand assigned to your product. So
it's like a Better Business Bureau thing.
Right, yeah, real similar to that. So.
Right on. Well, looking forward to that. I know Sabrina Fendrick from NORML is heading up those efforts. And the other thing I'm interested in, of course, is the development of the activism going on in Minnesota. You guys have been putting on all sorts of great events and lobbying your lawmakers. So what's next out there in the land of 10,000 lakes?
Yeah, we've got, we just finished with we had a Capitol rally that just went over really well with, we had Neil Franklin out, and we had, we filled the rotunda with Minnesota NORML. So it was a sea of green and white, and it really was the largest rally ever at the Capitol.
Wow.
And anyway, that was for marijuana related. So, but we've recently opened our own office. So we have an office now with 3 full-time staff people, and we continue to have monthly membership meetings. We've got bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, we have action committee meetings that are more involved with direct phone calls, so on. But our state, we just passed one of the most restrictive medical marijuana laws.
Yeah.
And it just happens tomorrow is the first meeting of the new task force on medical cannabis therapeutic research. And so anyway, all the task force members are getting together tomorrow. It runs 1:30 to 3:30. And so we're planning a press conference to be followed immediately after it, and just talk about. And then a bigger meeting coming up on August 8th is when, so a week and a day later, is they actually release their first recommended guidelines of how do you, because again, we're allowed 2 growers in the entire state.
Yeah.
And each of those 2 growers can have 4 dispensaries.
Yeah.
So how do they decide who are the 2 and where are the 4 located? Minnesota is a big state, so on. And then,
like 8th largest state in America.
Right. Yeah.
We have a question in our chat room. Speed Limit wanted to know, is Minnesota going to be able to set up regulations in time even to get to those two companies?
Well, that's a big question because, first of all, the number one thing that the state commissioner is charged with finding out is if he can obtain the marijuana elsewhere or if we have to grow it ourselves. And so that's a big question in itself. Is he going to hook up with Mississippi or somebody and say, hey, we already got the bud? We don't need to grow it here? I don't know what's going to happen, So there's a lot of questions yet as to these first steps as to what's going to happen.
And for folks that may not know, the Minnesota law that just passed is, I don't even call it a medical marijuana law. I call it a medical THC CBD law.
That's right.
Because you can get these extracted products, you can get edible products, you can get non-smokable forms, they call it, but you can't actually get marijuana. You can't touch the actual plant.
Yeah, there's no smoking allowed.
Yeah. And this just seems to be a trend now that's picked up. New York just signed their bill that is similar. It's just non-smoked forms here. But, the politics of this are difficult, and you guys have always had a roadblock in the governor's office trying to get something through here.
Right. It's always been. And, Minnesota is not an initiative state, so we can't get it on the ballot. But one thing we do have the power to do is elect the right representatives, pro-cannabis versus reefer mad ones. And that's Minnesota NORMLs. That's our big project right now, is in November, our entire House of Representatives will be reelected. So we're focusing on a voter's guide, and we have a 7-questionnaire list that we send out. It's available online, but we also have PDF forms that we're having our members send to their representatives, and then we want to rate them. We're thinking about, it's 7 questions, so we'll give them a pot leaf for every yes, maybe a pair of handcuffs for a no.
For a bad one,
and if all 7 are green pot leaves, they'll get a gold leaf or something. But we're coming up with a guide just to show people that, hey, know who you're voting for and what their position is, because there's 201 people in Minnesota that decide whether it's legal or not. That's the amount of our senators and legislators. And so we got to be careful that we elect the right people. So that's what we're focusing on.
Find out more about that at Minnesota NORML's website, MNNORML, MNNORML.org. Minnesota NORML leading the fight there in the upper Midwest for marijuana legalization. We're going to go back to another upper Midwestern state, back to the Mitten, Michigan, Clio, Michigan, to be specific. We were at the High Times Cannabis Cup in Clio, Michigan at the Auto City Speedway this last weekend, where we ran into Cannabis Cup winner. Now, he hadn't won yet by the time we interviewed him, but he ended up winning a first place for sativa and a second place and a third place for concentrate and edibles, or vice versa. I forget which one was which, but he won 3 awards. Our friend Rory Gould from the Arborside Dispensary in Ann Arbor, Michigan. All right, welcome back and live coverage here of the High Times Cannabis Cup. We're in the non-medicated area, but we just got our buddy from Arborside, the dispensary in Michigan here. We've got Rory Gould joining us. Hi, Rory.
How you doing, Russ?
I'm fantastic. And you, I saw your booth yesterday, but I couldn't find you. Is this your first day here, or were you here yesterday?
No, I was here all day yesterday.
Oh, see, we just missed each other. All right, so tell people about Arborside.
Arborside's in Ann Arbor. 1818 Packard. We were one of, 8 provisioning centers in Arborside, in Ann Arbor.
Yeah. One of the first, I understand.
Yes, one of the first.
Fantastic. All right, so online, is it arborside.com?
Arborside.net.
.net. Arborside, not with an H. A-R-B-O-R side.net. And what is happening as far as Michigan law with respect to dispensaries? I know there's been some changes recently. How have that affected you?
Right now, we're trying to get a couple House bills passed. We are actually in the gray area right now.
Yeah.
In Michigan here.
And that makes things a little scary, like on a county-by-county basis, I suppose?
Yeah, but a lot of times the sun comes out.
Yeah. Well, that's good to hear, but we're looking to try to get this regulated through a couple bills. What kind of obstacles are you facing right now? I imagine a lot of law enforcement griping.
No, not really.
Really?
No, not really.
So things look pretty smooth as far as getting some changes made, huh?
Yeah.
Is this motivated by, changes that are happening in, say, Washington and Colorado? The people are kind of going, all right, well,
yeah,
we got to get on with it.
They have to see that. They have to be aware of it. That's for sure.
Wow. All right. So how are things out at the booth out there? I imagine pretty busy. It looked busy when I was out there.
Things are going well at the booth. We have a lot of people coming by.
All right. Well, check it out. If you're coming out here to the High Times Cannabis Cup or just making your way to Ann Arbor, check out Arborside. And again, what's the address?
It is 1818 Packard. Those are the shirts you're seeing around.
Right on.
They say Deb Team on the back.
Okay. Thanks for stopping by, Rory. And grab yourself some in the cooler there. I got some ice cold water if you need some.
Okay, Gross.
All right.
Thank you for having me over.
You're welcome.
Continue the conversation with Radical Russ online. Visit radicalruss.com and email radicalruss@gmail.com.
All right, folks, we got to take another break and pay some more of the bills here at 420 Radio. But we want to remind you, we are listener-supported cannabis community public legalization radio from coast to coast, all across America and a little bit in Canada, too. Plus, you can find one of our shows, a couple of our shows from Europe. We're continuing to expand. We're adding a new show from Michigan, the Skunkworks Show. Check it out on Fridays at 10 a.m. Pacific time is the time. We're back after we pay some bills. Stick around. .420 Radio, fighting prohibition since 2012.
Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz thinks it's okay for medical marijuana patients to go to federal prison. On May 30th, she voted against an amendment that would respect Florida's new laws and protect Florida's patients. Even though 88% of Florida voters support medical marijuana, why would Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz vote to send patients like this to prison? Is Congresswoman Wasserman Schultz out of touch with Florida?
High Times presents Free Weed from Danny Danko from Brooklyn, New York, replaying Wednesdays at 1 Pacific.
I don't use marijuana, but as a teacher of 36 years, I can tell you lots of other people use it. I don't believe in prohibition. I don't think it works. Prohibiting it hasn't stopped anybody from getting a hold of it. I would like to see it regulated so that maybe kids can't get a hold of it so easily. I know they get a hold of it now very easily. I support a new approach to marijuana. I support legalizing it. It's with us. It's not going to go away. And if we can get money through the taxation, we can also educate our kids about it. That's why I support it.
Welcome back, everybody. 14 after the hour. That's music from Echo Movement with 15 minutes. You're hanging out here at Roller J Studios in beautiful Portland, Oregon, where I've got a month left in this building. I'm gonna have to move locations, folks. Once again, I've been here for a year. Now I got to move again. I hate moving. Got to move, though. So if anybody in the Portland area knows of a good location for Roller J Studios, make sure you hit me up. We're back here with Big Island Zane, who's hanging out. And by the way, I got this email from a guy named Zane, who's part of this. It's a sponsor or company, somebody I'm interviewing, right?
Yeah.
But I thought it was an email from you, right? So I'm typing to this guy all this stuff. Oh, yeah, come on over and we'll fix this and fix this. And he emails back like, I don't know if this was meant for me, but he said at least you had a cool name.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
Well, thanks, Zane.
Thanks, Zane. There you go.
Yeah.
And we're also hanging out.
Zane Network, man. I got an email from a dude at my school. He actually emailed me. He's like, yeah, Zane Power. Zanes Unite. You know, he sent, because there's 3 Zanes that go to PSU, Portland State University.
I see.
Yeah. So he's like, Zane Power.
Zanes of the world unite. Gotcha. And we've also got Randy Quast here. Between a Zane and a Quast, I think we got like 40 points in Scrabble. And Randy, up here in Portland from Minnesota, what's bringing you to Portland?
I renewed my medical card.
Oh, that's right. Oregon, of course, has no state residency requirement.
They're the only state that allows a non-resident to obtain a card. And then I have to check again how many. There's certain reciprocal states where I know Michigan's reciprocates.
One. Michigan, Arizona, Delaware, Maine, Nevada, and Rhode Island.
Okay.
Judges? Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Hey, and speaking of the judges, I wanted to compliment one of our Twitter followers out at Radical Russ on the Twitter. And, you know, if you don't get the Twitter, I know a lot of people out there don't get Twitter. Twitter is absolutely perfect for me because it allows me to disseminate little quotes or links to studies or polls or graphics or whatever. And sometimes some of my followers come back with answers that take me even deeper into the data mine. This is from Sentinel, who said this was with respect to that study that I covered in Behind the Headlines, right? From 1993, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration study, marijuana and actual driving. Tests where they did 3 tests where they took people out in Maastricht, the Netherlands, right? Made them drive on highways, you know, live driving situations in real traffic. And they had, of course, like a driving instructor in the car that had the extra brake and the extra wheel and everything.
Yeah,
so it wasn't.
I was kind of curious.
How do you smoking up and on the road, boys? Yeah, right. No, they had controls, and they had another car following, right? And they also put them through like dense urban traffic, city driving, right? Okay. And they discovered that on the highway driving there was like this. There's this tendency to not stay in your lane so well, to kind of weave back and forth the lane. They call it lateral lane movement or something like that. But it was no worse than some medicinal drugs and definitely less than alcohol. And then other than that, the other interesting finding they had was that alcohol impaired the drivers, but they didn't think they were impaired. Marijuana didn't impair the drivers, but they acted as if they were. Right. Now, that's that old saying of, stone drivers drive more carefully. Right. Right. The worst thing they're going to do is miss an exit. Yeah.
Right? My brother and I had a saying before, 30 and below. But that's Kona. We got 30 mile an hour speed limits.
There you
go. Back home,
How long ago was that study, though?
This is 1993, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
But the most interesting one, it's on YouTube as well, is where they did it down in the state of Iowa. And you must have seen that video. And they had people come and they had them smoke 1 joint or 2 joints, and they measured the levels.
Yeah.
And then they took them through and they had the state. It was all controlled by the people that issued state licenses, and every one of them said, "Well, yeah, she she hit this corner, she did that a little bit, but she would pass the test."
Oh, that was the Washington one on KIRO.
Was that in Washington?
Yeah, Washington State, where they said all day Addy.
There's also one done, I think.
Did they do one in Iowa too?
In Iowa, and it's funny.
Yeah.
The one gal that had too much, she was at, I forget what nanogram level. They put her on the course, and she started out. It's funny because she just started giggling and said, "I can't do this. I'm too high." They recognize your impairment.
Right. That's the other thing they find is that when they got the drivers high enough, the researchers pointed out that the marijuana drivers didn't want to go drive.
Right.
They're like, "No, I don't want to go drive." But when they forced them to, they found that they drove slower. They would brake earlier, not follow so close. Right. So, again, none of this is endorsement to say go out and drive stoned. No way. It's just to say that if we're going to have this discussion, let's be rational about it, and let's, use some science and some common sense to dictate what we're going to do. The cops and the DAs, they want to have a magic bright line number. They want their job to be easy, right? They just want to say, oh, well, if we test your blood and it comes above this particular number, guilty. And we don't even have to worry about it. But that's not the way this law needs to be written. It needs to be written to understand that marijuana doesn't cause impairment in the same way in every person, that people that use marijuana often can develop a tolerance to its impairing effects. People that are impaired by marijuana generally know they are and don't drive. And so we need to develop our policies to reflect the reality of marijuana and driving, to discourage people from getting high and driving, certainly, but not to throw the book at them if that's what happens to have occurred, and not to use unscientific, handy magic numbers to determine guilt and innocence. Hey, the bell's rung. It's 4:20 here in the Pacific time zone. And speaking of nanograms, we definitely need to up our nanograms. We encourage you to up yours. We'll be right back.
.420 Radio, your ticket to the Boston Freedom Rally.
Join us for the International Cannabis Business Conference September 13th and 14th in the Portland Ballroom at the Oregon Convention Center. The International Cannabis Business Conference will focus on the emerging cannabis industry in Oregon, the United States, and around the world, putting you in front of the industry's foremost entrepreneurs, political leaders, and attorneys. Also showcasing over 40 cannabis-related industry exhibitors, offering VIP lunches and free nightly networking events. Prepare yourself for America's next great industry.
What the authorities should do is decriminalize pot use. You want to do it in your house, not bother anyone? Fine. Go outside with a joint or a pipe, you pay a fine.
NORML stands for Responsible Adult Cannabis Use. If cannabis use is causing problems in your life, consider taking a break or seeking medical assistance. Consider ceasing cannabis use if you have a family history of mental illness. Don't drive or operate heavy machinery while impaired by cannabis use. Cannabis use is not without risks, even though the risks are far less than those posed by legal drugs. Are you a hypocrite? If you live a closeted cannabis lifestyle, you are. Read about 7 people living a closeted cannabis lifestyle who are on the verge of coming out in The Hypocrites by Mara K. Eaton. Available at areyouahypocrite.net. You can purchase the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also available on iTunes. Check out Mara K. Eaton on Facebook as well. Learn more at areyouahypocrite.net. At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of The Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
Everyone knows music and marijuana go together, so let's wind up our 20 after break with the Russ Belville Show's Daily Toker Tunes, the best in pod-safe 420 music from around the web. Today is Irie Wednesday, featuring reggae, ska, and other world music genres. Now, sit back and enjoy your Daily Toker Tunes.
Welcome back, everybody. 23 and a half after the hour, and we're joined on the telephone by Gordon Green from Gordon Green's Music Planet. Hello, Gordon.
Hey, Russ, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm glad to get you on the line and to remind everybody about tonight's airing of Gordon Green's Music Planet.
Yeah, I'm back a week in advance. So I was going to return with a new expanded format next week. And because of recent events in the Middle East, I felt compelled to come back and do a show for the people of Gaza. Tonight's show has music from and for the people of Palestine. I have several Palestinian singers, several other bands that do pro-Palestinian music or have recorded songs in the past. And it's a great show. I listened to it this morning and feel I need to do it.
Well, I'm really glad that you took that on. You know, these the images that I'm seeing and the stories that I'm reading are just horrific. And, you know, I think one of the things that gets lost in media coverage and in the telling of these stories is that we forget about, you know, how this is affecting real people with real lives, real cultures, real art. And it's just devastating. So anything we can do to, you know, to raise awareness, just even in a small way, of that humanity, I think is a noble undertaking. So I thank you for doing that.
Hey, man, it's
all right. We're having some
my pleasure, and like I say in every show that I do, I'm trying to.
Oh, Gordon, we're having some connection difficulties, unfortunately, with the Skype connection, but we'll move on with the tune. The call has dropped here, so the artist name is Shadia Mansour, featuring M1, and the song is Al Kafia Thraarboyed, and I probably messed that completely up. We'll see if we can get Gordon back on the line here, trying to redial before we play this Shadia Mansour tune. Gordon Green's Music Planet will be on tonight following this hour, 5 o'clock p.m. and 8 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, with a show dedicated to the people of Gaza, the Palestinian people, featuring Palestinian music and artists, including this one. This is Shadia Mansour.
صباح الخير يا ولاد عمومنا، فضلوا شرفونا. شو بتحب مضيفكم دم عربي ولا الدموع من عيوننا؟ بعتقد هيك تأملوا نستقبل، من هيك تعقدوا لما تدركموا على غلطة من هيك لبسنا الكوفي البيضة والسودا، صاروا كلاب زمان يلبسوها كموضة. مهما تفننوا فيها، مهما غيروا بلونها، كوفية عربية بتضل عربية. حطتنا بدنا اياه، ثقافتنا بدنا اياه، كرامتنا بدنا اياه، كل شي إلنا بدنا اياه. ما رح نسكت لن نسمح لن ليه بقلن يسرقوا شغلة مش إلهن ما خصن فيه. هلدونا بلتبس لبس هالقرب يكفيهنش، طمعانين عالقدس قدس، اعرفوا كيف يكونوا بشر. ما بتلبسوا كوفي، جينا نذكرن مين احنا وغصب عن ابوهم هي حطتنا. من هيك لبسنا الكوفي لأننا وطنية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، من هيك لبسنا الكوفي هويتنا الأساسية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، يلا علي الكوفي، علولي هالكوفية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، علو هلا بلاد الشام، كوفية عربية بتضل عربية. ما في بعد مثل الشعب العربي، فرجوني أي أمي بالدنيا أكتر مؤثرة. الصورة واضحة، نحن مهد الحضارة، تاريخنا وتراثنا الشاهد على وجودنا. من هيك لبست الثوب الفلسطيني، من حيفا جنين جبل النار إلى رام الله. خليني نشوف الكوفية البيضة والحمرة، خلينا نعليها لفوق بالسما. أنا جاء دية العرب الثاني بغص غزل ثاني بهز هالكلمات حرب. سجل أنا شادية منصور والحطة هويتي، من يوم ما خلقت سيدي والشعب مسؤوليتي. لك أنا تربيت بين الغرب وبين الشرق، بين لغتين، بين بخيل بين فقير. شفت الحياة من الشقتين، أنا مثل الكوفية، كيف ما لبستوني وين ما شلحتوني بضلني عاوصولي فلسطينية. من هيك لبسنا الكوفي لأننا وطنية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، من هيك لبسنا الكوفي هويتنا الأساسية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، يلا علي الكوفي، علولي هالكوفية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، علو هلا بلاد الشام، كوفية عربية بتضل عربية. كوفية عربية، كوفية عربية، كوفية عربية، كوفية عربية. من هيك لبسنا الكوفي لأننا وطنية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، من هيك لبسنا الكوفي هويتنا الأساسية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، يلا علي الكوفي، علولي هالكوفية. الكوفي كوفي عربي، علو هلا بلاد الشام، كوفية عربية بتضل عربية.
Some of y'all think it's a trend, a fashion statement. Disgustingly, I spit on the pavement. It's basic. Y'all know I I bang for my flag. My bandana ain't no rag. The kafia ain't no scarf. It's a part of the movement. The symbolism is resistance. No coincidence that you can see the RBG in it. Cable neath the bandana. Ain't it beautiful? I say it in Spanish. It's solidarity. The feelings is mutual. Meanwhile, high, that's M1 in Arabic. I'm pro-Falastini, does that make me a terrorist? You can catch me in Gaza, in Haifa or Ramallah, but I'm still just Mutulu Olubala. So when I rep with Shaja, we rhyme with our middle fingers up to the Zionists, cause we don't give a fuck, it's justice. So tie that thing around your head and ride, wave it in the air and let me know what side you on. Uhuru, yeah. The kafir is Arab. Yeah, it's M1. Solidarity, feel me, Shaja. Do it. From the ghetto to Gaza, I keep it RBG up. Yeah. Bang for my flag.
420 Radio, freeing your mind 24 hours a day. You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter. The International Cannabis Business Conference takes place September 13th and 14th at the Portland Ballroom in the Oregon Convention Center in Portland, Oregon. Featured speakers include Oregon Senator Floyd Przansky, U.S. Congressman Earl Blumenauer, Daily Dish blogger Andrew Sullivan, author Doug Fine, and Harborside CEO Steve D'Angelo. To learn more, visit our website at internationalcbc.com. 420radio.org presents Gordon Green's Music Planet from Barcelona, Spain. Gordon Green has been traveling the world for more than 20 years, discovering and collecting great music along the way. His mix of eclectic sounds from around the globe prove that you don't have to understand the words to enjoy the music. Check out the show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Time with replays Wednesday at 5 and 8 Pacific on 420radio.org. The Marijuana Business Association, or MJBA, are proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show. It is the mission of the MJBA to establish integrity and legitimacy, create common market standards, provide market intelligence, and develop best ethical business practices for participants in the emerging legal marijuana industry, including commercial hemp, medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana for adults. Learn more about the Marijuana Business Association and visit mjba.net to join today. That's mjba.net. The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, treat law enforcement with respect and stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all of my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak with my attorney." Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at
Welcome back, everybody. 33 after the hour here at Toker Talk Radio. This is music from Ballyhoo with Last Night. Last Saturday and Sunday, we were in Clio, Michigan for the Michigan Cannabis Cup. Got a great poster from that Cannabis Cup, too, that I'm looking at right here in the studio. Wyclef Jean apparently kicked it. Bobby Black told me he was totally impressed by Wyclef Jean's set. Kind of upset that I missed it now, but maybe somebody's got some video. I'll check that out sometime. We're going to feature more highlights of the Michigan Cannabis Cup right now, and we had the 420 radio desk set up in the nonprofit area and got a chance to speak to many of the nonprofit activists that were out there working with NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, whose nationwide network of local chapters are the grassroots backbone of marijuana legalization in this country. Here in Michigan, we spoke to the local county Michigan chapter. Now, apparently there's a situation in Michigan where every county that was around us was horrendously anti-weed. But the county we were in, Genesee County, apparently is the home to Michigan's weed smokers. We talked a little bit about that and more from Central Michigan with Jane from Genesee County NORML. More of our coverage of the High Times Cannabis Cup here at the Michigan Auto Speedway in Clio, Michigan. And we're talking to all sorts of people. And joining us at the desk right now, we have Jane.
Hello.
Hi, Jane.
Hi. Yes, I am.
Hi, Jane. Yes.
I am. Hi, Jane.
Very well put. And you're part of the Dildos for Justice Coalition.
Well, yes, I joined that today,
Yes.
and I'm also a Genesee County NORML board member.
Oh, excellent. Genesee County NORML in the house. We talked to them a little bit earlier as well. And you have a story to tell. So we're all about storytelling.
Well, honestly, when they started with the medical marijuana,
Here in Michigan.
yes, well, and out in California
Okay,
too,
okay.
but here, because I watched it out there, but, you know, I was on a lot of medications from doctors for a long time. And they had misdiagnosed my cancer, so they had me on a lot of medications I didn't even need to be on.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and it was their second time they had misdiagnosed me. And so I was taking like 15 different pills a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
You
And
have
I
to
was
keep a chart just to keep track.
yeah, and I was like 2,400 milligrams of Neurontin, which I don't know if you know anything about Neurontin, but anybody that's ever had to take that's for nerve pain.
Okay.
It's 100 milligrams will put you down.
Wow.
So I was on OxyContin, I was on Darvon. I was 247 pounds because of all the medications. I wasn't eating right. I was skipping meals because I felt sick all the time because
Sure.
of all the medicine. And so I got heavy. And in fact, I developed metabolic syndrome because of all the medications and the weight. So when they first started talking about medical marijuana, though, I honestly thought, oh, smart hippies, introduce it like medicine, like it's medicine. And then it came here, and because we did like to smoke it, and I had qualifying conditions, I went out and got my card, and made my husband my caregiver, and that made us both legal. I was more worried about the legal aspect and still really didn't understand the medical part.
Okay.
Just like
So
a lot of people.
you were smoking somewhat recreationally.
Right.
And just thought, oh, well, at least here, if I do this, I won't get arrested.
Exactly.
Had you not noticed any difference from the cannabis even when you were using it pre-medical?
Well, pre-medical, after my card, the grade and quality went up because I joined.
Okay.
I joined the GC3, the Genesee County Compassion Club. Ramona and Jeremy Rapinski own that, and it's awesome. It's a great place. A lot of good people out there.
Yeah.
And that's where I really learned how it was medicine. I met people that were sicker than me that had, I felt like more debilitating conditions, and they were managing them completely with marijuana, and I was amazed. So I weaned myself slowly off of all those drugs and started smoking like I was trying out for a Cheech and Chong movie. And honestly, I was scared about the weight because of the munchies. I was really scared I was going to get bigger because I was in a man's 44 and I'm in a 4 now.
Wow.
And I lost half a person. In 1 year, I lost 100 pounds when I started eating all the time, and I really did, because it would make my blood sugar kind of drop, and I'd feel almost nauseous if I didn't eat when I would, medicate. So I started eating all day, and the first week I lost like 11 pounds, and it just melted off of me. I didn't even really exercise. My activity levels went up because I started feeling better.
Sure.
And I don't take any narcotics. I don't take any Neurontin. A year after I lost the weight and got off all the drugs, they found out that it was cancer that I had.
Okay.
Instead of fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue immune dysfunction syndrome. And so they took my thyroid out. So I did have to go on thyroid medicine. And because it keeps me a little hyperthyroid, which is nice because now I was a little worried if I'd keep the weight off, and I am. So, yay, 5 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, so I have to. I lost my train of thought because I'm at the Cannabis Cup.
That's been known to happen.
But I have to take a blood pressure pill now too because of the thyroid medicine. But other than those two.
So from 15 pills down to 2.
Yeah.
And then just using cannabis
Yeah.
and massive weight loss.
Yeah.
And better management of the symptoms and the
much
disease
better
itself.
Can go about my day much better. Can go about my life. My kids got their mother back. My son, you know.
That's an aspect people don't think about here, is that how marijuana being illegal messes up families when a sick parent, a mother or a father, is so zombified by these narcotics that they're just missing from a child's life.
Not to mention that, you know, the narcotics really kind of, I have noticed, and I really recognize it now in looking back, they really make people angry. I think the narcotics, I find that people that are on Vicodins and the opiates are usually a little more
amped up.
You know, and I really think that that's just something that it's just part of it. I've noticed that a lot.
Well, cannabis is definitely working for you, and you made a really good point, you know, talking about a lot of people who get into medical cannabis are people that have had some experience with it on the recreational side. Maybe they smoked in high school or college, dabbled here or there, but like you mentioned, you don't really get a grasp of how medical it is until you get access to a high quality and high grade product. And what you're getting on the street is usually low grade and inconsistent. And I wonder how many people that turns off to medical marijuana because, well, I tried it, didn't do it. I mean, you might have gotten lucky by it coming to Michigan, coming to you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, if I had gone to California and been able to get my hands on some of the medical, I definitely would have tried it out there. and I did when I was on the I was on a magazine crew back in the late 80s, early 90s, and when we rolled through Humboldt County, I did get, you know, a little homegrown from people knocking on their doors sometimes. So I did get to try it every now and then, but I didn't get to smoke it on a consistent, regular basis, and I think that's what makes the difference. And also using it in the other forms, like, you know, in
tinctures,
the medibles.
oils.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you've got to use a variety of things that work for you. Figure out what it is.
What a great story from Jane here with Genesee County NORML. And what's Genesee County NORML doing, and what sort of things need to be addressed as far as medical access here in Michigan?
Wow. Well, we've been pushing a lot of different petition drives for decriminalization. We just finished up the drive in the city of Montrose here in Genesee County, and we got all our signatures, so it will be on the ballot in November. And we just finished up the drive in Saginaw. So, and I believe that's for the city of Saginaw.
Okay.
So just like city of Flint, decriminalization in the city of Saginaw, they got their signatures and they got those turned in. So that will also be on the ballot in November. Those were drives that our group helped with. And I know that I think we're finished up for this year because we're reaching the end of the date for being able to turn those in to go on the ballot. But next year we've got some other cities that are already asking and calling us to help them. We've decided to do it from the bottom up, since the state is going to give us so much opposition, but they have opened the door to let the local municipalities decide what they want. So we're going to take that as our door to, you know, start from the bottom up, and we'll just get the whole thing decriminalized eventually.
There you go, true grassroots, and happening just like everyday people like Jane here who are, you know, sick of this prohibition and realize that we have to do something about it. And hearing your story about, you know, just improving your health so much through the use of medical cannabis, I hope that inspires some other people to give it a try, to take a look at the new and emerging realization of its medical utility that's been known for thousands of years. We're just rediscovering it.
Right, yeah, they used it back. They found Sumerian tablets where it's where they were using it back. You know, they chiseled it in stone. They said the women used it. They took seeds. They don't mention the amount because I would really like to know. But they took seeds and soaked them in beer and then used it to ease their pains and their monthly pains, their pains during childbirth, and then it said, and their other worries, and I decided that was dealing with the men.
All the way back to Sumerian times.
That's right. So ladies, you keep your seeds, and if you have CD weed, I'm sorry, but keep them put it in your beer.
It's something that's always interesting to me, looking at the demographics. You know, when you look at the regular marijuana consumers, it's about 2 to 1 male.
Mhm.
And when I think of all the benefits women can get from for the use of cannabis in general, it should be the opposite. It should be 2 to 1 female.
Yeah, I'm surprised that more women, because it just makes you so much more mellow. It makes me anyway, and allows more things to roll off your back. You're not quite as annoyed as your guy or your kids, for not doing what they didn't do, or or
Mom's laid back.
Yeah.
Right on. Jane, thanks for talking to us, telling us your story. And
you're
again,
welcome.
it's very inspiring to other folks out there to know that it's just everyday people that make this change and can bring medical marijuana to your area. It's all about getting involved, getting registered to vote, getting involved with groups like Genesee NORML. Do you know like Facebook or website for those guys?
Yeah, we're Genesee County NORML on Facebook, and we're Genesee County NORML at gmail.com, and that is GENESEE. Genesee, and I'm Mary Jane Baker on Facebook. So if anybody would like to speak to me, they feel free to look me up.
All right, Mary Jane Baker on Facebook and Jane here from Genesee County.
That's right.
I'm Radical Russ. We're going to go back to some music here at the High Times Cannabis Cup. Thanks for joining us. 5 of the last 9 major party candidates to run for president, 3 of the last 9 vice presidential candidates, and the last 3 two-term presidents have all smoked pot. Marijuana, the gateway drug to the White House. This is the Russ Belville Show. .420 Radio, your ticket to Seattle Hemp Fest. At Royal Queen Seeds, we've got premium feminized cannabis seeds, including auto-flowering varieties for the medical cannabis user. We've got bulk shipments available and new CBD oil. Plus, we accept payment in Visa, MasterCard, and Bitcoin, as well as other methods. Check out our website at royalqueenseeds.com for more information. We are located in the Netherlands, and we have online grow experts ready to help you now at royalqueenseeds.com.
Georgia. Hi, this is Willie Nelson. Alcohol prohibition didn't work in the 1920s, and marijuana prohibition isn't working today. It's time we stopped arresting responsible marijuana smokers. It's the fair thing to do.
For more information, contact NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. Call toll-free 888-67-NORML or visit their website at norml.org.
New Approach Oregon is a coalition of Oregon citizens who believe that treating marijuana use as a crime has failed, costing taxpayers millions in law enforcement resources. Our approach will regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana for adults in Oregon. We can move Oregon forward and create new revenue for critical services. Visit our website at newapproachoregon.com or our page on Facebook at New Approach Oregon. Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. 48 after the hour. Radical Russ here at Rolla J Studios, where I have to deliver a special award again to one of our listeners out there who on the Twitter account, was it Sonatrol? Did I mention what the name of that account was? Let me go look. What was the name of it? Yes. Sentinel. There you go. Sentinel, who said... And that's at a mean of 20.7 nanograms per milliliter, with some testing as high as 59.16 nanograms per milliliter. Table 4.2. Great reading study. Thanks. I'm like, what? Now, see, I had just gone through the abstracts and the description of the text, and I didn't dig that deep into all the tables because I had a show to get on, right? So I was kind of busy. But this is the table. And this is a reference in hour 1. You can hear the replay coming up at 6 o'clock. But in hour one, I did a behind the headlines on this 1993 National Highway Traffic Safety Administration study on marijuana and actual driving. They actually put people out on the roads under the influence and tested them and everything. This is table 4.2, where they're talking about the mean, median, and range of THC and carboxy-THC. Now, THC, this is the active THC that they would detect in blood and that they would use in those nanogram per milliliter tests in Washington or Colorado and in actually 11 other states that have some level or even zero tolerance. They would test the active THC in your blood. And that's the first thing people have to understand. We're not talking about the P test. We're talking about a blood test, and we're not talking about metabolites. We're talking about active THC. Now, indeed, it doesn't mean anything, but it does have a shorter window of detection than does metabolites, right? Blood test is going to detect, up to, a few days, whereas a P test can detect, up to a couple weeks, 3-4 weeks. But there is a difference. There's still both unscientific methods of determining someone's impairment, but the blood is, shall we say, less unscientific. All right. So you got your THC, and then you got your carboxy-THC. That's that THC COOH, carboxy-THC. That's the metabolite in your pee, and that's the one that lasts for such a long time. So don't even worry about the carboxy one for this point, because we're talking about this THC here. The mean and the median, of course, the mean is the average and the median is the middle, and they're not always the same thing. The median means there's as many people below that as there is above that, but the average might be different because there might be a whole bunch of people on one end or a whole bunch of people on the other. Median and mean. And then the range, what was the range? How the biggest, the minimum and the max, right? So when they gave these people 100 micrograms per kilogram of THC, and that means based on their body weight, they gave them a bigger dose or a smaller dose, right? They adjusted by body weight. After 30 minutes, the range was 0 to 21.3. After 90 minutes, 0 to 11.0 when they did 100 micrograms. At twice that dose, the range is 1.7 to 39.3. And then after an hour and a half, 0 to 11.8. And then the 300, the top dose, the one that they used to get them the most messed up to do all these tests, 1.6 to 59.6 nanograms per milliliter after a half hour, and still 0.8 to 15.4 after an hour and a half. And check out the median, the middle range there, and the mean, the 20.7, right? So after a half hour of this dosage level of marijuana, we're getting ranges that are 4 times the legal limit in Washington and Colorado. And after an hour and a half after consuming that much marijuana, still levels that are above the legal limit. So we're saying, based on these results, people that were taking these maximum doses of marijuana, even after an hour and a half, would be guilty of being impaired drivers if they got on the road. Now, here's the problem. If you go back to my rant in the first hour, you'll hear that we talk about how, in every regard, these researchers found that marijuana was not that impairing a drug. It was no more worse than many prescription medications, far less risky than alcohol, and marijuana drivers knew they were impaired. If they were impaired, chose not to drive, and they found very little harm coming from the marijuana using drivers. This table points out that we're talking about guys that were driving at 4 times the legal limit. So we have to give big kudos to our listener, Sentinel, out there. Thank you for unearthing that data for us. And now, this just in from CNN.
The truth. Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
You have offended my family.
Hey, this is great, man.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
I know nothing.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
We don't need no stinking budget.
Homosexuality, immorality in general.
Found the century to have blurred the meaning of the words we, the people.
Be warned, this is not your mother's marijuana.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
I want to ask you a bunch of questions. I want to have them answered immediately.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious.
and don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, this in from CNN's opinion desk. Dr. Stuart Gitlow is the president of the American Society of Addiction Medicine, aka Big Rehab, and the chairman of the Scientific Advisory Board to the ironically named Smart Approaches to Marijuana. So he opens by talking about watching people die from cigarette smoking and adds, many people know one or more people whose lives were cut short by smoking cigarettes. It's a tragedy that could be prevented. And yet, our country stands ready to once again head down the path of accepting another addictive drug, marijuana, as legal. As with tobacco, a significant number of people who try marijuana will become addicted. Okay, so cigarette smokers out there, let's talk about addiction, right? Let's talk about how easy it is to put down the Marlboros after 20 years of smoking versus putting down a joint if you have to, study up for a drug test. Anyone want to equivalent that? Make an equivalent argument for those two with the withdrawals, with the cravings? Anybody? Nobody? All right. That's what I thought. You're laughed out of the room already, Stuart Gitlow. As with tobacco, even the numbers that we'll give you that are very questionable, NIDA's numbers say 9% of people that use marijuana will be addicted versus 33% of people that use tobacco. Okay, 9 versus 33. You can't say as with tobacco when the difference is 9% versus 33%. And then, of course, he follows that up with research says that 1 in 6 teens who start using marijuana will become addicted. Well, of course, this is the old 16% of kids who use marijuana end up becoming adults who use marijuana. Their definition of addicted includes everybody who is using marijuana 4 times a month or more. That's once a week. That means if you smoked a joint on Sunday and then went to work the rest of the week and then didn't smoke another joint till the next Sunday, you, sir, are a marijuana addict. You, ma'am, are a marijuana addict. And that is what we are so worried about the children becoming. Sorry, it's not going to float anymore. Nobody's buying that argument either. But he goes even further into crazy land. Check this out. If you use marijuana heavily prior to age 25, your brain won't work anymore. Not as it did originally. Your brain won't work anymore. Yeah, I know. It's the old 8-point IQ drop argument that's been heavily debunked. He also asks, will you die young as with tobacco? We'll have to wait a generation to find out, just as we did with tobacco. Our children will be the guinea pigs. What? Marijuana just became invented? People just started smoking marijuana. We're going to have to wait a whole generation to find out. It's too bad nobody was smoking a whole lot of it in the 60s, so we could have found out what's happened to them. Oh yeah, I know what's happened to them. They're getting Alzheimer's at half the rate of their cohorts that didn't smoke marijuana in the 60s. But to close, here's his closer. If I told you I'm selling a lottery ticket where you have a chance of winning and must accept 1, a benefit that will last a few hours, 2, a permanently malfunctioning brain, 3, lifelong addiction, or 4, the Powerball, psychosis, would you play? Wow, if this is the best that the prohibitionists have to offer on the opinion pages of CNN, it's over. The Berlin Wall has fallen. Nobody can possibly take this seriously. I don't even have to scroll down into the comment sections, but I will. Oh my gosh, you got to check it out. It's on CNN's opinion page. CNN.com. Dr. Stuart Gitlow. Dr. Stuart Gitlow. I like his name though. I do like the name. That's almost a funk name. Dr. Gitlow. It's too bad. It's too bad, Stuart. You could have had such a career as a funk DJ. Who could resist Dr. Gitlow? That's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us on Toker Talk Radio, and we'll be back tomorrow with more news and interviews you can use for the cannabis community. Stay tuned next for Gordon Green's Music Planet, a special episode, Gaza, Stop the Killing, followed by replays of our Hour 1 and Hour 2. For everyone here at 420 Radio, Big Island Zane, I'm Radical Russ. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.